All right, guys, welcome to the show. We got a lot to talk about. He did it again. He massively outperformed the polls. I thought there was going to be a sleeper Kamala vote. Not only was there not a sleeper Kamala vote, yet again, there was a sleeper Trump vote, even after the pollsters adjusted to put a sleeper Trump vote in there. So there's a lot to say. First of all, I was dead wrong. No more predictions from me. My instincts were completely off. You also never have to listen to the polls again. I think we're watching the death of the polling industry at the moment because this is enough misses, enough times where people are like, okay, you guys are just completely and utterly fucking guessing and your models are just pulled out of your ass, right? So that's the big takeaway. But why did this happen? How did this happen? Look, you're asking the wrong guy because I thought it was going to go the other way. I thought Kamala ran a much better campaign than Hillary 2016. In 2016, I could kind of see the Trump win coming. I certainly thought it was on the table. He was running a much better campaign, and I thought Hillary was running a horrible campaign. But this time, I did not see it coming at all. Not remotely. I thought worst case scenario for Kamala, she would get 276 electoral college votes, and didn't happen. It just didn't happen. So, how do we get to this point? Look, I guess it's pretty straightforward, but this was just an anti-incumbency election. I didn't think she would get tarred with incumbency. I thought that would be squarely on Joe Biden, and she sort of escaped that by being not Joe Biden. Turns out that was wrong. She was tarred with incumbency because she is the sitting vice president. It looks like that argument mattered. So this was the voters basically paying back Democrats for what they view as a bad economy and inflation. And this is the result. The result is Trump with over 300 electoral college votes. It looks like it's probably going to be a swing state sweep for Trump. I thought it would be a swing state sweep for Kamala. So, all right, let's get our criticisms, out of the way here. We'll talk about what I think Kamala did wrong. Then we'll talk about what I think Trump did right. So, again, just up front, I want to be clear. Kamala ran a better campaign than Hillary 2016. She just did. And she still lost. And Trump ran a worse campaign than Trump 2016, and he still won. So it's like, does anything matter? Apparently not. So I'll get to her mistakes in a second, but you do have to say, man, she ran on a $6,000 child tax credit. That's awesome. She ran on adding home care to Medicare. That's awesome. She ran on helping first-time home buyers with $25,000 down payment. That was good. She ran on reducing medical debt. That was good. She picked a guy for her VP who would have done paid family leave and paid sick leave and free school breakfast and lunch for kids. That's what he did in Minnesota. All that stuff is good. And it didn't matter. She still lost. So what were the problems with her campaign? Look, I mean, you guys know my take on this. We talked about it before, but I did not think the Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney strategy was good. Dick Cheney left office with a 13% approval rating. He brought us illegal wars and torture. Liz Cheney had a very low approval rating also, and she got kicked out of Congress not that long ago. And she thought she was making the point, hey, look, Republicans like me. But in reality, it was like neocon warmongers like me. And it didn't land. So to prove how bad the strategy was, in 2020, 94% of Republicans voted for Trump. In 2024, 94% of Republicans voted for Trump. So all of that bear hugging of Liz Cheney, and you weren't able to scratch away or scrape away even 1 percentage point from Republicans. Look, I'm not against the idea of being like, hey, we have some Republicans who support us, but you should have done that in the context of like, here's a union worker who's pro-Trump, who says he's a fraud and outsourced the jobs. And he says you should support me, right? Like, that's how you do it. You don't bear hug a neocon war criminal. But at the end of the day, would it really have mattered? Even if she didn't do the Liz Cheney strategy, would it have changed the outcome? Probably not. Trump won big enough where you can't just pin it all on that. The biggest mistake of Kamala was not separating more from Biden. She was very famously asked on The View and on late night talk shows, hey, how are you different from Biden? What would you do differently? And she didn't have an answer. At one point, she said, I'm not Trump and I'm not Biden, so vote for me. And at another point, she said, I wouldn't do anything differently from Biden. That's bad. that was the worst moment of the campaign. And look, on Gaza's a great example of this. Here you have Joe Biden arming and funding a genocide, and Kamala Harris didn't really change one iota from Biden. She would do the both sides rhetoric, but she made clear we're going to keep sending money and weapons to Israel. That's just one example of many, but you needed to separate more from Joe Biden, and she didn't. The other thing is, look, I think it's fair to say at this point the era of professionalism in politics is over. Nobody wants a polished politician. Nobody. Hillary was a polished politician. She lost. Kamala, polished politician. She lost. Trump is not polished. He won twice and lost once. Biden's not polished, and he won, right? So in today's day and age, professionalism and being polished equals inauthenticity or insincerity to voters. And so Democrats really need to digest that and stop running these like very professional and polished politicians. That era is dead and gone. The other thing is, and you have to bring this up in the context of this conversation, did gender play a role, right? In 2016, when Hillary lost, I was on the front line saying, no, it is 100% not because of her gender. She just ran a bad campaign, right? But this Kamala campaign was way better than the Hillary campaign, and the Trump campaign was way worse than Trump 2016, and Trump still won. So does gender play a role where some percentage of people were just like, I just don't want to see a woman leading? It's possible, right? It's absolutely possible. All right, so now let's talk about Trump. Look, the guy has 9 lives politically. It is insane, the stuff he gets away with. 91 criminal charges. He's already a convicted felon. He already is liable for tax fraud and insurance fraud and business fraud. He's already an adjudicated sexual abuser. He tried to overthrow the last election, and he did the fake elector scheme, and he did an attempted insurrection and a coup. And like the amount of dirt on this man is endless. And it didn't matter. None of it mattered. None of it mattered. So why did he win? Look, we're all taking stabs in the dark here, but for one thing, I'd say Trump is nothing but the master of branding. He's the master of branding. So his whole I'm going to fix everything. We're going to make America great again. I am the strong man. Believe in me. I'll take care of it all. You don't even worry about it. For whatever reason, Americans like that. They like the idea of a strong man. They like the idea of a dude who's like, I got this. Don't worry. Doesn't matter how preposterous and arrogant and over the top the character is. They like it. And Trump has branded himself as Trump equals success. And apparently that worked. As I pointed out before, I think people like the no filter and the arrogance. They think the arrogance is just confidence, and they think the no filter is honesty. So he picked up in like every demographic group, guys. Kamala underperformed Biden 2020, and Trump overperformed Trump 2020. The other thing is, people want the show. People want the show, and Trump delivers the show. He delivers charisma, he delivers controversy, and it looks like Americans are just obsessed with the entertainment value of this stuff, and they go, hey, that guy's never going to be a dull moment with that guy. Let's go in that direction. So they did. The other thing is, I think people want big change, and Trump is a revolutionary conservative. And I don't know. It's possible America is just way more conservative than I thought, but what I think people will find out is, yeah, you want the revolution part, but you actually don't want the conservative part. And when he enacts a super conservative agenda, everybody will be like, oh, fuck, this sucks, right? So we'll find out in due time, but that's my guess on that. And then the final point is, and we'll talk about this in a separate segment, Dems are doing the exact wrong thing in reaction, right? I could already see it coming. They're going to go, we got to get more right-wing, we got to get more fascist, we got to be more like Trump in order to win. The reality is what Trumpism proves is he absolutely positively super served his base. And that worked to also get moderates and independents and pick away numbers in every demographic group in the country. It worked. So Democrats, you need to start super serving your base, right? And you need to throw red meat to your base. And maybe that's actually the way you expand the coalition, by standing for something, believing in something, and super serving your base. And if people see you're actually delivering for them, they're more likely to deliver for you. But with him, I don't know, man. The takeaways are very, very bleak. I mean, I think it's undeniable at this point that he has a cult, and they just rewarded him for all of the horrible things he did. I have to say, I am very doomer-pilled at the moment. My faith in the American electorate has plummeted. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the only things that mattered, vibes were the most important thing, and Trump was winning on the vibes. And just, hey, anti-incumbency. You're not the person in power now, so we're going to go with you. That ended up winning the day. It didn't matter. that he ran on mass deportations and across-the-board tariffs and retribution against his enemies, none of that mattered. He still ended up winning. It kind of reminds me of when I was in middle school, I had a mock trial that I had to do, and the girl who I was up against, who was the other attorney, she did all this preparation, did all of her homework, had all her arguments laid out, went up there and delivered it, and then I did zero preparation, got up there and shot from the hip, and I ended up winning. And I remember thinking afterwards, that is totally unfair. This poor girl worked her ass off and lost, and I just got up there, did no preparation, shot from the hip, and won. It sort of feels a lot like that, doesn't it? It feels a lot like that. By the way, I should also point out there were 32 different bomb threats in 5 states. Not that, if that didn't happen, that Kamala would have won. But, it's kind of crazy that there was direct election interference and 32 bomb threats and nobody's even really talking about it now. And then I guess the final points I'll make. Look, man, the power of propaganda matters here too, right? Republicans have created their own network and their own echo chambers. They're in their own information bubbles. Elon bought Twitter and pumps out right-wing propaganda. Fox News is poisoning minds as they've been for decades now. Trump went on Rogan and Andrew Schultz and Theo Von and took over the podcast sphere. And there were consequences to that. Again, he's picking up with demographics you wouldn't expect him to pick up with. And so I think all of that stuff mattered. So what I would say to Democrats is, I wish policy mattered more. I wish it did. I mean, in this election, her policy was just objectively better than his, and it didn't matter. I wish policy mattered more. So try to make it matter more. Super serve your base. Have bold universal solutions, right? Universal health care, paid family leave, etc. But also, this part is kind of undeniable now too. You have to run a celebrity. Because that part of Trump helped. You have to run a celebrity, and you also have to lean in to somebody with charisma and controversy. That is the Trump magic formula, right? Charisma and controversy and celebrity. That's all. That's the 3 C's: charisma, controversy, and celebrity. I think you unironically need that, right? And, oh, by the way, I'll give you some silver linings here at the end. The piss Nazi Mark Robinson went down. That's glorious. Carrie Lake went down. That's glorious. Increase in the minimum wage, 1 in a bunch of states. That's glorious. I believe abortion rights won in all but 2 states. So the majority of the states, they won on abortion rights. That's good. In Florida, the legalized marijuana direct vote, it got 55% but lost because it needs 60. So that's a little frustrating. The right to an abortion vote in Florida got 57% but lost because it needs 60. That's also a little bit frustrating. But you have, let me think. The Republicans are going to win the Senate. Obviously, they're winning the presidency. And it looks like we're not sure yet with the House. It could either be a little bit Republican or a little bit Democrat. We're sort of on the borderline with the House, but we'll see, man. But it's going to be an ugly 4 years. I'll tell you that much. It's going to be an ugly ass 4 years. Because this is Trump unchained. That's what you need to understand. This is Trump unchained. No more checks and balances. No more people to try to reel him in. This is him surrounded by loyalists and sycophants with a Supreme Court that says you have full immunity. He will govern like an emperor. He will do whatever he wants. Say goodbye to the federal agencies and the regulatory state. Totally gone. He's going to take a hatchet to all of it, right? Say hello to higher military budgets and Netanyahu doing whatever he wants with the genocide and the social safety net being slashed massively. And I'm just telling you guys, look out. Look out. Because you thought 2016 was bad. This is going to be a lot worse. So perhaps the silver lining is that they might become so unpopular so quickly that it'll be yet another anti-incumbency election the next time around, and it'll just go to the Democrat if the Democrat has a fucking pulse, or even if the Democrat doesn't have a pulse, right? So buckle up, man. This is going to be a wild 4 years. It is going to be. We're all going to age about 15 years in the next 4 years. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.